No, I was just thinking, we went to a conference a couple weeks ago.
We did.
We just attended, though. We didn't have a booth or anything.
Yeah, we were cute about it, actually.
Yeah, it was nice.
Do you regret not having a booth? If we do it again, would you want a booth?
To each their own. I like working a booth.
Do you?
I do.
I think we should try it next time.
I like having a booth.
I think it's time.
I like when people come up to me and they're like, so what's all this about?
Yeah, I think that you just like it when cute women flirt with you. Nicole's never going to watch this podcast, so.
It's the hair. It gets them where they're going every time.
I was going to say it was the face and the eyes, but sure, man, it's the hair. Well, yeah.
You're sweet.
So yes, we did go to a conference a couple weeks ago.
Which reminded me of a story I wanted to share with you of a conference that I had a booth at many, many years ago, back when I started my first agency.
Nice.
Went to a local small business convention, right when I was getting started out.
Cute.
Kind of scraped up some cash and got the booth. It was a relatively inexpensive conference too. So, but one of the things that they let you do before the conference is they would give you the attendee list and let you email them.
Natch.
Okay. And so I put together a 3-part email campaign to inspire people to come by the booth because I was going to do a on-the-spot website review for them.
Okay.
Like, sit down in my booth.
Yeah.
We'll spend 5 minutes. I'm going to review your website for you.
I'm a fan.
Faux free.
Okay.
Faux free.
Okay.
So I got to the 3rd email in the sequence.
Yeah.
And the way that you had to send it, you had to send it through their tool thing. So you had to put everything in and then click send, basically.
Okay.
And yada, yada, yada. I messed up.
Okay.
And I sent a blank email.
Totally blank?
Subject line was filled in. Nothing in the body copy. Just a blank email.
Hot.
To 7,000 attendees.
Cute. That's adorbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I messed up and it looked bad on my brand.
Sure.
And I was like, how do I recover from this? Because people are going to come to the show and they're going to be like, that's the booth that sent blank email.
Yeah.
These guys are incompetent.
Sure.
And you know me.
I do
and
know
hopefully you know me at
know
this
you.
point.
They don't know you like I know you.
I have no problem making fun of myself whatsoever.
It's true.
And so I decided to just lean hard into it. So I sent a follow-up email about 45 minutes later that said, hey, our email guy made a mistake. He's embarrassed about it, but not embarrassed enough. Come by our booth. And at this time, Game of Thrones was really big. I don't know if you remember in Game of Thrones, but there's a scene where they march one of the characters through the streets of the city, ringing a bell and yelling the word shame.
Yes. Yeah, it's an iconic scene.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn Christie, by the way.
Yes.
And no, not Gwendolyn Christie. Not Gwendolyn Christie. Hannah Waddington.
There you go.
One of my favorites.
She's great.
Hannah, if you're watching this, call me.
Of Ted Lasso fame.
Of Ted Lasso fame. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I said in the email, he's not embarrassed enough. So swing by our booth. We will have a shame bell. And you can ring at him and yell shame.
Hilarious.
And
how did it go?
It took us some time to find one of those big clangy bells is actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
Found one, brought it to the booth. We had people.
And this was what, 2016?
Yeah, something like that.
So Amazon was still around.
No, like they didn't
Sorry.
have the size
I know.
of bell. I wanted that, like,
you wanted
that
a specific.
that big dong, you know, like. We'll edit that out. But people came by the booth all day long to ring the shame bell and yell shame,
Of course they did.
at me. And then we would do a website review for them, and other people would come by and go, "Why is this bell ringing?" And they would come in and they would ring the bell, and then they would get a website review. And I left that show with over 100 leads.
Wow.
Because I messed up an email.
Sometimes in life and in business, our greatest mistakes end up being our greatest triumphs.
It's true.
That is a great story. I hadn't heard that one. You've told me a lot of stories, and that's one that I'd actually never heard. That's a good one.
You never heard that one. Okay. But I kind of want to just talk about, what can a brand do when they have a misstep? Like, what can they do? So that's what we're going to cover today on Vox the Coin. Welcome. I'm Jake, the Wizard Telepic, and I'm with Dave, the Valentine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens. If it doesn't happen, something weird's going on. I think that anytime that you're trying to push the envelope, move fast, you don't have a lot of bureaucracy, you're going to have mistakes. The exchange that you have in a large corporation, and you and I have abundant experience working with large corporations through our agencies, and there's so much red tape that it's really hard to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
It can still happen, but it takes like a coordinated effort from multiple people. When you're a smaller company, first agency, it's like, dude, that's actually a little bit easier just because there's not as many checks and balances. There's not as many thresholds. And we see large companies mess things up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about a specific airline earlier this week that will not be named that maybe have ruined some things.
I'll name them. It's Southwest. You took away my bags.
And Jake's salty. I think that there's so many times that it's easy to make a change that makes business sense, that actually disproportionately impacts your customer base in a way that you maybe thought but didn't really think through. Like, the Dallas Mavericks traded their superstar 26-year-old MVP caliber player to the Lakers. They got a aging MVP caliber player in return, and another guy and a draft pick later. Woo! And so, like, the fans went on revolt, like full on revolt. They've lost their minds. They're like, dude, what are you doing? So this happens, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it happens to brands big and small. The severity of the mess ups are all different calibers.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you did yours, though.
It was me.
You get to lean into it.
You got to lean into it. At least that's the approach that I like to take. But then you've got brands like Jaguar who release, we're always seeing new brand refreshes and things. But wow.
When we lived in Texas for a while, we lived near Arlington. And I remember they did a redesign of their logo. Arlington, Texas, just in case you're like, I don't know where that is. It is where the Dallas Cowboys Stadium is. It's where the Texas Rangers Stadium is. They have it's like the entertainment center of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There are other places where there are sports venues and whatnot, but it's really quite large, and they keep building more entertainment venues there. So they decided to redesign the city logo because they thought it would be fun. And I'm not kidding, I can't make this up. The logo that they chose was different colored letters.
Mm-hmm.
Each letter was a unique color. It was not all capitalized or lowercase. They were different depending on what letter it was, and they were different fonts. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And it made national news for ridicule for how bad it was. They didn't know what to do. They literally printed banners and hung them on the street posts with this logo, and everybody made fun of them, and they just didn't care. That was an interesting move. Just like, we don't care. We're just gonna like leave it like it is. They did make a move like 6 months later where they're just like, we're gonna leave the fonts the same. We're gonna leave the letters like capitalized or lowercase the same, but we're gonna remove all the color.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, dude, it still looks bad and white. Like,
well, I'll say this. Sometimes you can do something like that on purpose.
yeah,
Right? Like if you live in a town that's like Fart, Nebraska,
sure,
you're owning that.
right,
It's part of the playful identity of it.
sure,
Okay? But when you have a genuine mistake, like I think of Apple, I think it was last Super Bowl, not the 2025 Super Bowl, 2024 Super Bowl. They put out an ad where they were crushing creativity into an iPad.
Yes, it was a terrible ad.
And everybody just went off on them
Yeah,
as being anti-creativity.
yeah. I think it was this last Super Bowl.
Was it this last Super Bowl?
I really think it was. Yeah.
And so what can you do at that point? Now I know Apple released some like follow-up ad
Yeah.
to try and clarify, but it was like you already did that mistake and it didn't hit the right tone of apology.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can do that can recover a brand that maybe has been negatively impacted like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's an infinite number of possibilities that work. The things that I've seen work repeatedly as just like a template. One, if you have crisis PR teams that have, if you're a big organization, you should have a crisis PR team that looks at your stuff and knows how to handle specific situations and has a game plan before you get there. So like that's number one. Number two is though, be honest. Like just be transparent. We messed up. This is how we messed up.
Yep.
And you actually have to be sincere. So like one of the worst things I've ever seen, I will not name names on this one. I will not name names on this one. You don't know who this person is. So this will be great. There was somebody who I personally know. They're more of an acquaintance who owns a prominent business in a location that I used to live in. And they built a building type that is unique to their location. I'm trying to be as vague as possible because I really don't want anything to happen here. The building failed. Like there was actually a collapse of part of the building.
Whoa.
They built dozens of this sort of building all over the state. Dozens. And so the thing that they could have done was they could have turned around and said it was the concrete company. They had this problem. They were the da-da-da-da-da. No, what they did was they said, hey, what just happened with this? These people that got injured, luckily, thank God no one died. These people that just got injured from this mistake, this thing, we're going to take care of them. We're going to take care of their families. We're going to make sure that they're made whole. We're also going to go around the entire state where all these other buildings have been built in a similar fashion, whether they were by the same concrete company or not. We don't care. We're having all of them inspected by two different third-party engineer companies to make sure that they're structurally sound. They went back through. They found two more that had issues. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, they were constructed by the same concrete company, so it ended up being the concrete company's fault. But the huge company that did all this building work, and they were the ones that were doing it, they made it right, and they fixed it on their own dime because they said, we don't think it's okay for our work to be tarnished. We should have caught that anyways. We should have known better. We're never going to use this company again unless they help us on this, which the company did help them, and they did figure it out, and it ended up being a great story, and they ended up getting dozens of more contracts because they're seen as, hey man, if something goes wrong, they're going to make it right.
So you think honesty is the best policy?
Sincerity is the best policy. And if you're not sincere about your, hey, we messed up, if you're just trying to CYA and move past it, don't do that.
I just read an article the other day. Do you know how many people have died at Disney World?
No.
0.
Okay. That we know of.
No. 0. Legally 0.
Okay. Did they take them outside of the...
And then they report it.
Yeah. Got it.
That's how they do it.
So they drive them outside the grounds, the company, and then they report it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's the happiest place on earth, guys. Okay, can I throw one back at you?
Yeah, of course.
Because I think that there's the, hey, we made a mistake thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, we stopped letting you check one bag for free. Just saying. But then there are times where an individual feels wronged. Right? An individual feels wronged. You, Jake, me, Dave, whoever you are, you may have never interacted with this person. They may have had a negative experience with your brand, your company. Maybe they claim to have had a negative experience with you, but you've never spoken with them before. And now they are putting you on blast online. I'm just big enough for this to happen to me every now and again, as far as like following goes. And I think it's happened to you before too, just a few times. I'm just curious, how do you address the kind of one-off person who, again, did they actually have a negative experience, or is this just that they're having a bad day about something else and you are the person or the brand that they're taking it out on? How do you address that?
It's tough because when you have a business, one of your mandates is to protect that business. And we live in a review culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think a great example of this is the movie Ratatouille.
Okay.
Because in the movie Ratatouille, the whole thing is that the guy who made the restaurant had 5 stars, Gusteau's, and then comes in and gets one scathing review from the critic guy. And he loses 2 stars. And then he dies. And they can never recover. That's kind of the whole impetus for the plot line. Reviews mean something.
Yeah, totally.
Unless
you're a utility company and then they don't mean anything. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, there are some industries though, like insurance companies, utility companies, they all have 1.8, 2-star reviews because if you're calling them or if you're reviewing them, you're calling and or reviewing them because you're upset about whatever's going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm upset right now. We changed our internet provider at our house about 5 months ago. We just got a bill that says that they're going to send us to collections because we haven't paid our bill in 5 months. I used their portal. I have an email from their portal saying that I've canceled service, but their system never updated with my cancellations they've been trying to bill me. How can I not be upset with that service?
Sure, right.
Now, they have an easy out to not get a bad review from me, which is don't send me to collections and don't bill me.
Right, sure. Yeah.
You don't have the money anyways. What are you going to do? But to your point, yes, criticism, especially public criticism, can be very hard to deal with. I kind of take it in 3 stages, especially since I put myself out there on TikTok so actively. I'm very open for that open forum style conversation. And I've had ex-customers who have left for various different reasons, although pretty much none for performance, for their own personal reasons, that have come into my comment sections and my TikTok lives and tried to badmouth me. And I take it in kind of 3 stages. The first stage is I try to defer it to a private setting.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm having a one-on-one discussion publicly with somebody, that's usually not the best route.
Sure.
So I'll try and defer it to a private setting. If the private setting, if they're not taking that hint, if they're not moving it to a private setting, they want to continue to have this conversation publicly. The second step is typically, I'm going to tell my side of the story. We're public. Let's put all the pieces on the table. Okay. And the last step, the third step, is to simply ignore them. And what I've found, again, I have some benefits because I do have a pretty decent following socially, is that there's a lot of people who like me. And I've had many situations where somebody's come in and started bad-mouthing me in a TikTok live. And the other people in my TikTok live who are, I don't want to call them fans because that feels awkward, but people who enjoy my content.
Come on, Jake.
You
have fans.
Rip this person apart.
Sure.
They have nothing to lose. And so I'll watch them go at it in the comment section or in the live, where these people who watch my videos, who I know as, Siddharth 86.
Sure.
Are out here defending my honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. The problem is that it's a lot easier to leave a bad review than a good review.
Well, I think that there's also there's different triggers, right? You're rarely triggered into leaving a good review.
Unless I prompt you as the service provider.
That's it.
Hey, leave me a review, please.
Sure. And this is true too. It's also rare that you're going to hit up Southwest Airlines and say, hey, Southwest, thanks for getting me to my destination on time, in one piece, and happy. Because that's table stakes.
That's the expectation.
And so it's only when things go awry, or that there's some really unique thing that happens, that we go and say something positive about a brand. So I think that there can feel like, if you're managing if you're a brand manager, if you are an owner founder, the reason why, and the psychology essentially is, for every 10 positive comments, reviews, whatever, one negative has the same weight as those 10, is what the general rule is out there.
I actually think that's the science.
Yeah, there is some data behind this.
Daniel Kinnaman, Thinking Fast and Slow. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking slow, clearly. But no, I think that there's something to this idea, right? Where it's like, it's so easy whenever we're really triggered and upset because we had an expectation for how something was going to go. We immediately are just like, I'm going to leave them a review. Now, for me, because you and I are business owners and we've been doing this for a while and we're in the space and all those things, I immediately go, dude, I want to tell the owner. I want to tell the general manager. I want to tell, I even try and have a conversation with the staff person sometimes. I go, hey, man, I love you. I want you to do well. This was weird for me. Mm-hmm. Can we maybe try this again? And if they're not responsive, then I will bring in somebody else. And reviews are the last thing that I want to do unless it's positive. But I'm a unique human in that I have been on for so many reasons. I'm a unique human in that I've been on the business ownership side. I've been on the brand side. I know how much those people legitimately care about solving problems for their customers, passengers, patients, clients, doesn't matter. And that it's not 19 times out of 20, the negative experience that I'm having is due to either I had unrealistic expectations, that's one, or two, the person that I'm interacting with is having a bad day that has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Because they're a person too. Their cat died today, right? Their kid's at home sick and they can't take time off. There's millions of reasons why. And Maybe they got a fender bender on their way to the call center. Who knows? Who knows? So I take a little bit of a different approach, but I think that when you're dealing with this as an overall idea, though, the point is you got to realize it's not about you.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're getting brand feedback, especially when you're an owner, founder, business leader, it's really hard not to take it personally because you're working so hard to do it well.
Unless you're a mega corp like Chipotle who undercuts their protein scoops every 4 weeks.
Do you have the product data research on that?
Some guy on YouTube did a test on it.
Really?
Bought like 100 bowls, pulled all the meat out of it, compared it to what they say is the weight of the meat online in their nutritional facts, and they're way under.
And they get progressively worse every 4 weeks, or does it go in a 4 week cycle?
That was a joke.
Oh,
Chipotle continually changing how much meat they give you. Yeah, no, I mean it's shrinkflation.
Yeah, and I don't think that people. Why is it that brands and companies get so short-sighted, Jake? Because that's what it feels like consistently. Like whenever they take something away from us, whenever they decide to jack up the rates on credit card processing fees for a temporary bump, whenever they decide to start doing shrinkflation, let's give people less product.
Take away your free check bag.
Bingo. And it's like you're gonna win for this long. And then eventually you're going to have a revolt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get it. What's the rationale, man? Is it just quarterly profits?
I mean, there's something to be said about that. I think a lot of businesses, not all businesses, but a lot of businesses start with passionate founders.
Yep.
I would say the majority of businesses start with passionate founders. Outside of like even an incubator, but like just a cold hard, VC backed play to fill a gap in the market of some solution. Outside of like that, most businesses have passionate founding.
Totally.
And the passion spreads to, I want the experience of this to be great.
Yes.
What happens over time is that as that business grows, whether it's shareholder value or whether it's, ownership percentage, whatever it might be, there's a transition that happens. And sometimes this can happen when the founder leaves the business. More than likely, this is when this happens, is that the founder leaves the business and it gets left to somebody who has no passion and has only interest in profit.
We run the agency with EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Part of that idea is you have a visionary for the company that kind of just does exactly what it sounds like. Cast the vision, big idea, how do we do this, culture, and then you've got an integrator. And the general data around this is that for every 4 visionaries you have 1 integrator on the planet, just like by skill set. Not everybody is a visionary. Not everybody is an integrator. There are very few of both. That being said, it never ceases to astound me how many times, and your description's perfect here, you have the owner-founder, they have a vision. It's not just a solution. It's a vision for something unique.
It's a better world.
It's a better world. They build it up. They get to a point where they're either removed by shareholders, they're removed by a private equity firm, they're removed by VC. They leave even.
Or they leave.
They leave even. Because nothing, like you and I say this to staff, we say it to each other every now and again, there's going to be a point in time where we don't work together for one reason or another. Right? It's just going to happen. And it's going to be, I'm going to be sad when it happens. You're going to be sad when it happens. And we're also going to be excited for each other to go do whatever we go do. It's going to be great. But it's part of life. And so the thing that I find disturbing, though, is that so often, man, the PE firm, the shareholders, the VC firm, whoever, they don't bring in somebody that has that vision. They bring in somebody that's there to cut costs. They're bringing in someone that's there to maximize shareholder value. They're bringing in somebody that's there to just really bump that stock price up a little bit high. And it's like, dude, what if the best way to maximize shareholder value, using Chipotle as an example, is you just load those bad boys up again?
Yeah.
You load them up and you get people to come back in droves again. You make the chips with the right amount of lime and salt again.
Yeah.
You go back to the really good locally sourced ingredients as much as you can again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to scale. It's not going to be efficient. It's not going to be as profitable, but the user base is going to be more loyal.
Well, and I think there's something to that. Owner founders, visionaries who truly have the passion will protect elements of the business that are inherently not profitable due to the fact that they achieve vision.
Yeah. So Dogfish Head Brewing does this. My favorite brewery out of Rehoboth, Delaware. They make a beer called the 120-minute IPA where they just continuously throw hops into the brew kettle for 120 minutes, 2 hours. It comes out at 18% alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more robust than a freaking glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a punch in the mouth. It's delicious. He sells it for $11 per 12-ounce bottle. I happily pay it every time. He got bought out by Sam Adams, but the reason why he got bought out by Sam Adams is because he talked with the owner of Sam Adams and he said, look, I don't want to change these things. This is not a beer that anybody else would make. But the owner of Sam Adams said, great, we make the exact same types of beer. Of course we're going to keep doing that because their visions were aligned. Mm-hmm. And so they still make the 120-minute IPA. They sell it for more than they've ever sold it before. And people still happily pay it and they search it out.
I think another great example of this is Arizona Tea.
God, such a good one.
That man has died on the 99-cent hill.
Yep.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he will continue to die on it. And you know what? Each of those cans, he's probably making what? 3 cents profit at best at this point.
Sure.
And he's going to die on that hill because that is the vision and the value that he sees in the company. And people continue to buy those cans because they trust that company because they're taking care of them.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate the power of vision. Mm-hmm. Like there's this really fascinating thing about humanity. You and I have talked about this a number of times in every sort of conversation, but like humans naturally gather in groups and tribes up to 130 to 150 people at most. And the rationale behind this is you and I, like people in general, can know like 100 to 150 people in their life and have some sort of relationship with them at one time. And fascinating enough, Gore-Tex, the company, they build warehouses and factories in a fashion where they never have more than 130 people at each location so that you can know every single person that you work with, even though they have a global workforce. The last time I looked it up, it was like 5,000. So they have all these different locations so that you can still have this small family feel in a large corporation. And there's the only way that humanity was ever able to get past that small group to build city-states and nations was one piece of technology called story. So when you started to have a collective identity, you started to have a vision for what is Rome. All of a sudden, you can start to build Rome because people understand, oh, that's where we're aiming for. That's the game. That's the goal. That's where we're headed.
Absolutely.
When you think about this navigation of less than ideal feedback, or maybe you mess it up, because that's where we started. You sent out the email blank, which is genius, and you came up with the funny way to get people to engage. When you think about brands doing this well, is there another story that you've seen a brand just navigate a sticky situation in a way that didn't just calm down the situation, but actually got them some brand equity in return? I've got one. Tylenol.
Tylenol.
So about 50 years ago, there were people that were in the US. There were people that started taking Tylenol and then they died. Okay. So dying from taking Tylenol all of a sudden, not normal. So Tylenol had to make a decision. A, they didn't know what was going on. B, they were like trying to check everything in house. What they decided to do, because when your product kills people, it's a bad day.
Usually not
a good
one.
move. They pulled every piece of product off the shelf. Every single piece of product off the shelf. This was not a recall like we traditionally see.
Okay.
This was an unprecedented move at the time. It's such a big case study that it's actually taught in many business schools as a way to move forward when there's something wrong. What they ended up finding out was there was a disgruntled employee who was poisoning the Tylenol as it was going through the production line.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a real thing. And then they re-released their product. Because they took such a drastic, aggressive position towards fixing it, their sales increased year over year from the incident. Because people felt like Tylenol's looking out for me. They're looking out for my family. They will do whatever they need to do to make sure that we're safe. And so there was this big, grandiose move where them doing something that was, I mean, can you imagine being in the boardroom for those conversations? Hey, listen, we just want to recall $750 million worth of our product so that we can dispose of it. You know, like it's insane. They make the decision and it ends up being more beneficial. And my kids take Tylenol. Your kids take Tylenol. We have Tylenol in our house right now. And they could have messed that one up. They could have gone slow. They could have thought differently. They could have left some of it on the shelves because they said some of this batch is fine.
Yep.
But they actually it was almost as if they went, you know what, this is an opportunity. And I love that mentality of flipping situations that we think are negative or that are totally out of control. If we can flip those and go, what's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity here? And I think about that constantly, whether it's with our internal team, our clients, whatever it is. What's the opportunity? What could we do that would make this really dynamic and a great relationship? Wow, how could we benefit here?
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. What are some ways that you could maybe inspire more good reviews? And I'll tee this up a little bit.
Okay.
You know I'm a big Rory Sutherland fan.
I do know that you love the Sutherlands.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess Donald Sutherland too.
He's a great one.
Yeah. But not Kiefer though. I'm out on Kiefer.
Well, he's soured.
Yeah.
Couldn't help myself.
But I'm looking for delight.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the one, right? I think that so often what ends up happening is we forget those moments of delight in everyday conversations, in everyday interactions, in moments where it matters. When we look at how Amazon acquired Zappos, they acquired them because they were doing customer service in a way that Amazon could not duplicate in-house. They tried and they were unable to do it. Then when they went into Zappos' office and they saw what they were doing, have you heard this story?
No.
Emma? Oh my gosh. Okay. They went into Zappos' office and every cubicle was decorated uniquely. Each person decorated their cubicles. There was an energy. There was a call center with people that are like calling because they're pissed. And their whole game was, we're not just going to satisfy you. We're going to make you elated before you get off this phone call. And so this whole theory whenever Amazon acquired them, it started to permeate the customer service department in Amazon. And for a long time, calling customer service at Amazon was nice because they had this Zappos culture that they had really ingested into their firm. And there's something to that idea of, instead of going, hey, I want to make this client be okay, I want to make sure that this customer feels seen and heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally different than saying, it's a different question. What can I do to make sure that you walk out here going, holy crap, that was one of the best interactions I've ever had? And a lot of times what I've found, because, I've been a bartender, I've worked in retail, I've dealt with as I like to call it, the general population of humanity. It's a different animal, man. It's a different animal. And you get people that are not on the kindness scale. You get people that are having bad days. You get, all sorts of things. What I would do, though, is I would try and make every single interaction as memorable as possible for them. And I would also reflect back their energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I would reflect back their energy with just 10% more glow.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much that it was obnoxious. If you're 100% more, it can be a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
But 10% more, man. And there are techniques and approaches to it. My pleasure. Good move, Chick-fil-A. They stole it from somebody else, but that's fine. It's one of those things where there is some little sense of their little verbal cues we give, little physical cues that we give with our body, intonation, tone too, that really dictate that. But I also believe in, if we start to say, okay, what do they expect? How can we go above and beyond that? The way that this plays out at Disney, you have a Disney family.
We do.
Yeah, we also are a reluctant Disney family. But one of the things that we've seen over and over again is, if a kid, like we've just seen this at the park, this doesn't happen to our kids, but we've seen it constantly. If a kid is running, scrapes their knee, is crying, a cast member will come by, talk to the parent, say, hey, can little Johnny, can little Susie, can they have an ice cream cone? Yeah. Okay, here's a coupon. Why don't you get yourself some ice cream? You're going to be great. You okay?
I have a story.
It's great. Oh, do you?
I have a Disney story.
Oh, I love this.
This is about 6 years ago. We went to the parks, and for some reasons we had to split up. My wife, she had our two daughters.
Nice.
Ages like 2 and 5. And so the whole plan was, I had to run back to the park to grab something.
Oh, wow.
And we were at a location, so she was just gonna get a ride share. They have a thing called minivan service, which is the most brilliant name of anything ever. It's basically Uber, just on Disney property. And she's gonna get that, go back to the room, be done. Right? Calls the minivan service. They show up. They don't have like the car seats that they need to take the kids. Leaves, calls the second one. We're now an hour into them waiting for a ride. They're sitting in the lobby of this hotel, and the woman at the desk of the lobby is watching them. And she comes over and she's like, hey, are they hungry? Would they want a snack? Would they like to watch a Disney movie? Takes them over into like a corner of the lobby, changes the TV for them, brings them out some cookies, like all on the house, right? Yeah. We're now an hour and 20 minutes into waiting for this minivan. Gosh. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, I'm back at the park, like,
sure,
on an errand. And the lady comes over and she's like, why are you guys still here? Like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, this minivan is just not showing up. So the desk calls a taxi.
Wow.
Like, we'll pay for it. We'll get you back to your room. Taxi's taking a little bit. Meanwhile, my 2-year-old poops up her back into her hair.
Oh. No. Oh no.
Desk lady comes over. Hey, I'll watch the kids for a second. Run into our little gift shop. Pick out anything, just whatever you want for her. Gives whole brand new outfit. And then scans our app and gives us unlimited fast passes for the rest of our vacation.
Gosh. Yeah, that's game changing.
And finally the taxi shows up, takes them back. But like, that was a terrible situation.
Terrible.
Like, the kids were tired and
Sure.
whining, and then, poop in the hair. Nobody wants that.
Nope.
And yet Nicole looks back at that moment fondly.
Yeah.
As like, I love Disney.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
It's those unexpected moments of delight that just go that extra mile. And I think as business owners, we just overlook that because it's not on the bottom line. It's not something that is cost effective to do.
Right.
But you get those people for a lifetime.
Right.
And they leave good reviews. And their good review is a bad review that's a good review, right?
Yeah.
It's like, my kid blew out her diaper and Disney gave me brand new clothes and cookies and fast passes. And
yeah, because what's that old saying? People don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
And right, like that's the game. And so it's about that feeling. And so it's why whenever we are talking to somebody in business and something isn't going the way that any of us want it to, I step into a different mode of operation. I just go, we're going to fix this. Everything's going to be fine. In fact, we're not just going to fix this, we're going to make this right. So let's start walking through what that looks like and just going, oh, let's do this, this, and this. And then we get to the end of a call or whatever it is, right? And they go, I feel totally different now. And I go, what changed? You gave me time, love, and attention. I feel seen, loved, and heard. We have an action plan. Let's go.
I just remembered a tip that I was given by a person who'd done a lifetime in managing customer service. And you can go use this right now. This is like psychology level genius, okay? Psychology hacks, right? There can only be one maddest person in the room.
Nice.
So the idea behind that is, if you can get more mad than they are on their behalf, they will actually back you up from being mad.
Yeah.
Because there can only be one maddest person in the room.
It's true.
And so that's something that you could take. If you're so enraged at their experience, obviously, within reason, but if you can kind of double down on their energy, and feed that back to them, it kind of makes them feel a little silly sometimes, because a lot of complaints are not as grounded as the level of emotion attached to them.
Sure.
And B, it lets you know that you care more than they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that's worth mentioning too, is that most of the time the complaints that are being had and the level of anger that someone is displaying towards you or towards your brand typically is misplaced, and they're just having a no good rotten day, week, month, year, whatever, and you just happen to be at the right place at the wrong time, and you're gonna get it. And so it's not saying that there are brands that don't go into the wrong. They certainly do. But it's all about how you navigate it. So this has been fun, man. This has been a good conversation. Yeah. I think one of the things that I came away with from this conversation that I got from you, that Disney story is going to stick with me forever.
Hopefully not in your hair.
Yeah, thank God. I think, but it does speak to how crappy situations can turn into a really good, lasting moment. And I think that there's so much that can be gathered from and even gained in a situation where you mess up. Like, you send out an email that's blank, and you may have had more people open the second email, More people show up to the booth.
My open rate was like 75% on the apology email.
Because we've all been there. We've all sent an email once before. We're like, crap, get it back. Where's the undo button? And you miss it, right? Like we've all had that moment. We've all felt that existential terror. And so I think that sometimes our greatest fears or our greatest moments where we just go, man, that sucked. That was a failure. Or we blew it can actually turn into some of your most meaningful connections with a customer or client. What's the takeaway for you from this conversation?
Never make a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. To err is human.
Yeah.
And humans do business with humans. So don't ruin yourself. And if somebody wants to stick to their guns, have a bad review, let them.
Yeah, right.
Let them, because you're going to get another opportunity. Just a quick closing story. We're building a new house right now.
Nice. Congrats, by the way.
We were right at the edge of making the decision, and Nicole decided to look at the reviews of the home builder.
Sure.
They had 8 reviews.
Only 8.
Only 8 reviews. 4 of them were negative.
Yeah.
And she was like, are we making a mistake? Is this the wrong choice? And I said, babe, do you know how many houses they've built? We looked up the math. It was something like 30,000 homes.
Just a few.
So at the end of the day, one bad review, someone put the energy into that. They took their energy out on that review. It isn't going to end the world for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you like this content, hit the like and follow button for more. Subscribe to the channel, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you like to consume your content. Check us out, Vox and Coin. There are also other shows that are also a part of the network. Unicorn Campaigns, Last Drop. He's Jake, the Wizard of Marketing. You can find him everywhere, specifically on TikTok. Jake, the Wizard, amongst other places as well. I'm Dave Valentine. Find me at RealDval on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, also LinkedIn. Till next time, we'll catch ya.
Peace.